There comes a moment in every high-achieving woman's life when the doing stops working, when you've checked all the boxes, hit the goals, and still feel stuck. When you're successful on paper, but swirling in self-doubt behind closed doors. This episode is for you because clarity doesn't come from hustling harder. It comes from stepping back. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on what actually happens inside an empowering coaching consultation and why it's often the moment my clients finally say, "Oh, I see myself again." You're about to learn what becomes possible when you give yourself a 20-foot view, not just of your career or goals, but of you. Let's dive in.
Welcome to The Balanced Leader, hosted by Yan Dang, a leadership and life coach with over 20 years of corporate experience. Drawing from her journey as a former global finance leader and second-generation immigrant, Yan understands the unique challenges women face in male-dominated workplaces. Each episode offers insights on balancing masculine and feminine energies, mastering soft skills, and building emotional intelligence. Join us to transform frustration into empowerment and unlock your authentic leadership potential.
Hi, podcast listeners. Welcome to episode number 38. This is all about zooming out. Last week I talked to you about the power of displeasing with ease and how to zoom in and zoom out. This week we are talking about the 20-foot view, what happens when you finally see yourself clearly. And how I do this with my clients is on an empowering consultation. So I'm going to talk to you about this episode, which is really for women who have been feeling stuck. If you're feeling like you're spinning in your own head, if you're unsure of your next step, but you know that you're meant for more, then this episode is for you. Today, I am pulling back the curtain on what actually happens inside an empowering coaching consultation with me and why it's often the first moment my clients start feeling seen, heard, and powerful again. So I wanted to first share a little story about myself and the first time I felt totally kind of lost. I remember I was in my mid-20s and I got my CPA and I was working and I remember thinking is this all that there is? Is this all that there is for me next in my life, in my world? I've ticked the boxes, but I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel satisfied. And I didn't really know myself that well. And I so wish I had somebody invite me to do a consultation to dive in and see myself where I was and where I want to go and what's possible for me. And quite oftentimes people don't realize that this is available to them, that there is someone out there in the world that is present, open, and has a lot of skills that can help me to see me in a different way. I think if I knew that this was possible, it's something that I would have totally jumped on. But notice if this is you. Maybe you are already fulfilled in a lot of ways at work and at home. You're high achieving, but you second guess yourself. Maybe there's something next you want to do. I have a lot of clients that want to find another job, or they're interested in writing a book, or they're interested in starting a new company, and they second guess. They don't know. Am I running towards something or am I running away from something? Externally successful, but internally burnt out or unsure of yourself. Making decisions from fear, habit, or urgency. Not super being clear on yourself. This is where a lot of my clients come to where they're like, there's something else that I want. And the common thoughts that have people not taking steps to help themselves is they think that they should have figured this out. Or they think, I don't know what's wrong with me. My life's pretty great. Why am I feeling this way? So then they start judging themselves. Or they think, I'm doing all the right things, but I still feel behind. And they get stuck in the self-beat up. And what's really helpful is to be able to zoom out and see your whole self, your whole world, where you are and where you want to be. If I had that in my mid-20s, I would be like, oh, I would totally understand where I was. I just finished accomplishing a lot of big things in my life. I was living on my own. I was checking a lot of boxes that I felt good about checking. But at the end of it, I was like, there's more for me. There's something else that I desire and want, but I didn't know it at the time. But having the zooming out view could have really helped me to see what was possible, not only internally, but externally, right? Not only understanding myself deeply and getting to know really what matters to me and putting myself first versus ticking boxes, but also seeing that bigger vision of what's possible for me when I look out bigger into the world. And in my 20s, I kind of figured it out, but I ended up having just to explore the world. I moved to London and Singapore, and then later I did a lot of my internal deeper work. Now, you always wish that you did more of that internal deeper work earlier on, but it's better now than never. There are some people that I work with that they're literally much older in their life, and they're finding that this work is profound for them, that this work is important for them, that this work helps them create the clarity and the satisfaction of being connected with themselves while doing that next big chapter. So what happens in a consultation? What is it and what is it not? I want to share that first and foremost, because I think sometimes people feel scared, like, I don't want to go on this consultation. What if they try to sell me hard on something? What if people are using emotional manipulation on me? So what is it? It's not a pitch. It's not therapy. It's not a free coaching sample, right? It's actually a powerful moment to pause, to zoom out, get honest with yourself, see your inner patterns from a fresh perspective. Think of it like taking a 20-foot view of your decision making and looking at your life, looking at your experiences. And I in particularly do a piece around understanding your family of origin. So it's that 50-foot view, but it's also very expansive so that we could see, the ways that you think and feel about yourself as it relates to your family of origin. So we look at how you're thinking, where you're stuck, and whether the way you're approaching things is actually lines up with who you want to become, right? Oftentimes people have in their minds who you want to become, but they don't know how to get there because they're stuck in themselves and how they see themselves. So it's hard to make that next step forward without being able to see that next step clearly. And I remember personally when I was in a soul cycle class and, there's like loud music. And I remember the instructor kept saying, you gotta know if you want what you really want. He kept saying that over and over, like, you really need to decide if you want what you want. And it kept sticking with me. And this phrase of like, you got to decide if you want what you want. Like, what does that mean? And what I realized, later on as those words kept ringing in my mind is oftentimes people say they want something, but they're not willing to do the hard work to actually create it. People say, I want to start a business, but they're not willing to dive in to research what that entails. They're not willing to explore their uncomfortable emotions around that, the risk around that. We're not willing to do that hard work to really prove that we want what we want. And this is the power of a consultation. We're zooming out and we're seeing all of it. It's a mirror. It's a map. You'll hear your own wisdom. A lot of times in these conversations that I'm having with people, they're starting to hear profound truths that they've never shared with anyone or themselves. They are finally in a moment where all we're doing is focusing on them and their life and what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what comes up for them. So with no pressure, no noise or cloudiness around their choices, oftentimes it's really hard to have people who love us in our lives listen to what's possible because they get scared. Maybe you tell your parents, I want to move to another country. And instead of being open and excited for you, they're like, oh no, but what's going to happen to us? We're going to miss you. And what if it's dangerous out there in the world? Why don't you just stay home, right? This is why it's so powerful to have a coach, to have somebody in your life that's not conflicted, that isn't impacted by what you do or say, or, their emotional well-being tied to your emotional well-being. It's important to have a person that is totally unconflicted. They are just willing to help you see yourself better, helping you to make your choices from who you want to be versus who you are now. Because typically what keeps us from becoming who we want to be is all of those emotions and all of those feelings and all of those wanting to please other people. So the consultation is really permission for you to put yourself first to help you see yourself clearly. So let's dive into what actually happens on a call. You'll share your goals and struggles. And what I do and what I've been taught to do and what I've learned to do talking to hundreds of people over the years is I listen deeply and I ask intentional questions and I reflect back what I hear. I help you uncover what's underneath the confusion. Is it fear? Is it pressure? Are there old beliefs? Are there limiting beliefs, which I'll talk to you about? These are beliefs that we think that we hold about ourselves that typically help us get where we are right now, but don't help us get to that next level. So I'll give you an example of that. Like one of the things that, has helped me to get where I was is to perform, to really get things done, to do a lot of things, to take a lot of actions. But what I notice now, being an entrepreneur, being a thought leader, a lot of what I need to do is not just do the work or perform the work, is spending time focusing on the strategic vision, focusing on my way of being, how I bring people in, how I create a sacred space for people. And that is more of a being job than a doing, right? I'm not just performing. And that is a shift for me from a limiting belief that feels like I need to perform in order to be successful to I need to work on my presence and my connection with myself so I can connect with other people more deeply. If you are ready to show up with confidence, presence, and authority, join me for my free masterclass, How to Be Heard in a Room Full of Male Leaders, happening this month. You'll learn the real reason you're struggling to be heard, how to stop over-explaining when you do get heard, and my 3-part self-leadership model I share with my executive clients. This masterclass is here to help you command the respect you deserve and make an undeniable impact in your organization. Register for How to Be Heard in a Room Full of Male Leaders on Thursday, July 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern by going to www.aspire-coaching.co, that's co/be heard, or follow the links in the show notes. So we will start really working on that part of you that is excited about this future self. Who is this person in the future? What are their thoughts? What are they doing? How are they different to you now? Because the more you attach to that future self, the more you will take risk and make decisions based on being that future self, not who you are right now. And I'll offer to you some insights and observations that you might have not seen. Oftentimes when I am on these calls with clients and I repeat back to them what their problem is and why it's their problem and why what they're trying to do isn't really working or not working as quick as they want it to. And I will share, of course, the process that I walk my clients through and how that process will help them get their results more quickly. We explore what it looks like to lead from alignment authentically to becoming who you want to be and not the fear that's holding you back. We really get to the heart of it. And what I do is, if it's a good fit, we'll talk more about what it could look like to coach together. And again, part of my role is to help you make decisions. That's what coaching is, in a neutral way that helps you get really clear on what's on the line for you. If this is the future version of yourself that you want to be, what is getting in the way of that? And why would you prioritize this future version over other things? This is getting back to that sort of soul cycle talk of like, you got to know if you want what you want. And oftentimes we feel so much emotion and pressure to make a decision that a lot of times we just don't want to make a decision. So we let ourselves off the hook and we don't even examine what it could look like to make a decision. Again, this is part of the power of getting clarity. No matter what, you will leave with clarity. You will be clear on what you want to do next. You will be clear on what's in your way and how you can work through those obstacles. Typically, they're mindset and emotional pieces that are in the way of us wanting to do things. If it was logical, we would just do it. We would just get it done. But we are humans and we are full of emotions. We are full of unconscious thoughts about ourselves, potentially limiting beliefs. And those are what actually happens when you get that wider lens. You see where you're playing small or where you're overfunctioning. You're going to see the hidden patterns that drive your decisions. And you're also going to see what leadership could feel like when it's aligned with your truth, when you feel authentic to yourself. Most of us make decisions from urgency or fear. When people say there's a deadline, this test is due, you got to do this. And a lot of us, we are in the school system and then we go to college and we check that and we get the job. So we're kind of like not really taught to like do a lot of decision making until we're like adults. And so it makes sense that it feels like a lot of risk. Like, what do I do next? I feel scared. What do I do when I don't have this path that society or my parents or other people are telling me to do? And this is the space. This is the space that I invite you to make a decision from the vision and values instead of urgency or fear. People typically are driven by urgency and fear, but that urgency and fear is not going to get you to where you want to be in the future. Typically, people are either avoiding fear or avoiding excitement because they don't know how to deal with having to take themselves to that next level and deal with that fear. This is why it's so important to have a space where you can share all of this, put it all on the table. And a lot of things that clients say to me once they come on this call is that they say, that one call gave me more clarity than years of overthinking, because it's true. And I totally believe it when clients tell me that, because oftentimes we're stuck in ourselves and we don't know how to see that bigger picture. It's kind of like, I'll give you the example of dating. I have a lot of friends and sometimes clients who are like, I want to find my life partner. And then I say, okay, great, let's talk about your dating. And they're like, I don't want to date. So this goes back again to that soul cycle. You got to know if you want what you want. You got to do things. If you want to meet your life partner, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to be the right person? And how are you going to go out in the world and experiment and discover what's possible when you do that? But that initial feeling of, I don't want to be out there, I don't want to put myself out there, that is what we want to see. That's a 25-foot view that we want to show you, that you want to see for yourself. So it's not about solving everything in one session. This is really about being honest with yourself. It's about awakening the version of you who knows how to lead herself powerfully. Most people have the answer, but again, what shows up and what gets in their way are the unconscious beliefs that they have about themselves or emotions that come up that they don't know how to navigate. So this is what I talk to my clients about. This is what I would talk to you about in this coaching consultation. We will dive into it and get really clear about what's truly in your way. It's the first moment of seeing, right? I don't have to keep doing it this way for a lot of people. They start seeing a vision out of it. And for many women, it's the first time they feel held and stretched without being judged. Like, I'm going to share with you what I see, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give you the years of coaching hundreds of women that have had the exact same problem as you have. And I'm going to normalize it for you, and I'm going to share it with you, and I'm going to break down the steps to get to the other side. So that's what it is. So if you've been listening and you're thinking, this is me, then trust that nudge. You don't need to know how. You just need to take that first step. And that first step is booking that consultation with me. And you can do that easily going to www.aspire-coaching.co. And then there's a big button in the corner that says free consultation. So this is your invitation. This call might not change your life in 45 minutes, but it will change how you see yourself forever. And that's where everything begins. Really starting to attach to that future self of yours and understanding truly what's in the way of that. I want that for you. I want that for all of my listeners. I want that for everyone in the world to get clear and honest with themselves. Because what I will tell you is when I got clear and honest with my pain, my upset, my dissatisfaction, that's when things really changed. And I was willing to see myself, see my problem, and also see where I wanted to go. And I was willing to commit to that I want what I want and to actually take those steps. So that is for you. Going out there, ask yourself, do I really want what I want? And if I do, what am I willing to do? and I want to invite you. Come on a call with me. Let's dive into it. This is the very beginning for you of getting what you really want. All right. Have a great week ahead, and I will talk to you next week. Take great care. Bye.
Thank you for being a part of the Balanced Leader community. We hope you found today's episode inspiring and actionable. For more resources and to connect with Jan, visit us at aspire-coaching.co. Until next time, keep leading with confidence and purpose.
If you are ready to show up with confidence, presence, and authority, join me for my free masterclass, How to Be Heard in a Room Full of Male Leaders, happening this month. You'll learn the real reason you're struggling to be heard, how to stop over-explaining when you do get heard, and my 3-part self-leadership model I share with my executive clients. This masterclass is here to help you command the respect you deserve and make an undeniable impact in your organization. Register for How to Be Heard in a Room Full of Male Leaders on Thursday, July 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern by going to www.aspire-coaching.co, that's co/be heard, or follow the links in the show notes.